Hello, my name's Simonaz and welcome to another Simonaz Guide video. Today I've got the Rogue Gearing Guide for you for Phase 2 of Season of Discovery. We'll talk about the best possible gear you can get, some easy to get pre-raid gear, what enchants you should be using, as well as the best professions to deal the most damage you can on your rogue in the Gnomeregan raid. We're going to start with the helmets, but if you want to skip ahead to any particular gear slot or the professions, those will be timestamped and linked in the video description. You can skip ahead wherever you want. The best helmet is definitely the glowing Neuro-linked cowl, the epic crafted item for leatherworkers. Rogues will definitely want to be leatherworkers in this phase to gain access to this super powerful helmet, as there are really no alternative helmets. The next best helmet is the Artemis Cowl, back from Black Fathom Deeps in Phase 1. And the Neuro-linked cowl is even better than that, even when you don't have the activated effect available. As an easy-to-get item, we've got the White Bandit Mask, which is a BOE crafted item from tailors, should run you around a gold. Not quite as good as the Artemis Cowl, but not everyone can get Artemis Cowl from Black Fathom Deeps. For the necklace, our best in slot option is the Gnomeregan Peace Officer's Torque. This comes from the quest reward for the Thermoplug's Engineering Notes that drops every time off a Mechaneer Thermoplug, the last boss in Gnomeregan. This is also the item that triggers the world buff when you turn it in. However, I wouldn't recommend prioritizing this item on a rogue, as the other alternatives are only 2 or 3 DPS behind, with the Zealous Shadow Shard Pendant from a quest reward, or your Scouts or Sentinels Medallion from Warsong Gulch Honored Reputation are quite good alternatives. In the shoulder slot, we have the Failed Flying Experiment, which is a quest reward from Feralis. You'll have to kill a bunch of mobs in Feralis until you get the quest starter item, the Distress Beacon, and I would recommend just kill whatever mobs you can kill quickly, and also group up with someone. Once it drops, everyone in the group can loot it, and you're going to need some teammates to complete the quest and actually get the Failed Flying Experiment. If you're not so keen on that, the Mantle of the Cunning Negotiator from within the raid is a very good alternative, only a very small DPS loss, and it's got 11 stamina on it. This is a totally legitimate alternative. That 11 stamina in a lot of cases is going to be worth 1.4 DPS loss. As a super easy to get alternative, we're going to have a crafted item, Nightscape Shoulders. These are from Leatherworkers, pretty cheap, got some agility, some stamina on it, great starter item for fresh rogues. On the back slot, we have a BOE, the Dark Hooded Cape. And if you've seen this one on your server, it's probably been pretty dang expensive. A lot of classes want this. This is the best in slot for quite a few classes. However, I would strongly recommend not spending gold on this item, as the Prototype Parachute Cloak and the Drape of Dismantling are super close in performance. Those are 2 raid drop items. You also have the Hawkeye's Cloak, which is a BOE world drop, much cheaper, only a little bit worse, or Imperial Cloak is also another good one that you can buy on the auction house. And on the cloak, we're going to be putting a +3 agility enchant. That's the most damaging stats we can get from an enchant on the back. For the chest, we've got Insulated Chest Guard, one of the 3 pieces of the Insulated Leathers set you'll be using on your rogue. And if you don't have that yet from the Gnomeregan raid, you're going to want to get the Blazewind Breastplate. That comes from Tremors of the Earth quest or Broken Alliances, depending on your faction. It's a quest in Badlands where you have to kill a level 50 dragon. You're going to have to get a group for this one. And if you don't have that, a BOE option is the Quillward Harness. That is a rare zone drop in Razorfen Downs. Pretty good, but probably pretty expensive. The easy to get option here is the Nightscape Tunic, crafted by Leatherworkers. Should probably cost you less than a gold. Decent tunic with agility and stamina on it. The set bonuses we're so interested in from this Insulated Leathers set are the 2-piece bonus for 1% increased critical strike chance, and the 3-piece bonus for +3 dagger skill. In a raid setting, that +3 dagger skill basically means we're going to do more damage with auto attacks. There's a lot of little technicalities and small things it does, but don't worry about that. Makes your auto attacks do more damage. It's pretty good. For the wrist, we have the Forest Stalker's Bracers. These come from getting exalted with your Warsong Gulch faction, which is no easy task. You can get up to Revered quite easily by doing the Ashenvale PvP event, but going from Revered to Exalted, the only thing you can do with that event is the weekly quest for your +5% damage drum. Other than that, you have to actually go into the Warsong Gulch battleground and actually do PvP if you want to gain this Exalted reputation. If you're not exalted with your Warsong Gulch faction, your next best option is going to be the Unearthed Bands of Power with 28 bonus attack power. This is a rare zone drop from Uldaman, and it's randomly enchanted. frankly, these are probably even harder to get than the Forest Stalker's bracers. So go down the list one more to any BOE green with plus 20 attack power. It can be Cabalist bracers. It can be a couple other bracers can roll plus 20 attack power. That's what you're concerned about. And none of those three are very easy to get. So for an easy option, we have the Dusky bracers. Again, crafted, leatherworking. It's got 8 agility on it. Not too bad. Not that good either, but it is what it is. For the gloves, we want the Machinist's gloves. These are far and away the best option against any mechanical boss, but if you are not fighting against a mechanical, they'll perform equivalent to the Void Touch leather gloves when you don't have the activated effect. So if you're a leatherworker, you'll get mileage out of the Nero-linked cowl helmet, and you'll be using the Void Touch leather gloves at least until you get the Machinist gloves, and even sometime after that. For the waist, we've got the Epic Engineering Crafted Belt, the Hyper-Conductive Gold Wrap. This has an activated effect that lets you flip a coin, and if you get heads, you get a 3% crit bonus for 30 seconds, which is quite strong. And when this is available and you roll the crit bonus, it's better than all of the other belt options. But to be fair, that's a 15-minute cooldown, and it even only happens 50% of the time. When you don't have that crit bonus, the gold wrap is going to be about equivalent to the other good belt options, which are the Defilers or Highlander's leather girdle from getting honored with your Arathi Basin faction, or the Skullduggery waistband that drops from the first boss in Nomergon. For the legs, we have another insulated leathers piece, the insulated leg guards, and these are really great. That 1% bonus to hit with attacks and with spells on top of 8 agility, 13 strength, 14 stamina makes these excellent leg guards. And if you don't have these yet, your easy to get option is the Nimble Trip Runner Dungarees. Those are the reward for your clearing Nomergon quest that everyone will be able to get after their first clear of Nomergon. That's Rig Wars if you're on Horde, or the Grand Betrayal if you're on Alliance. The feet have our final piece of the insulated leathers set, the insulated work boots. And while these aren't individually the strongest item in this slot, the set bonuses are what put them ahead. If you're using the Defilers or Highlander's leather boots, those have an inherent move speed bonus on them that does not stack with your move speed enchant, so you'd switch to a +3 agility enchant in the case of using those boots. Normally, we want the move speed enchant, because even spending just a fraction of a second more attacking a target is going to pretty easily outweigh the value of +3 agility. But if you don't have any of that stuff, the Excelsior boots are a good clean option to get. Comes from a quest by the same name in Stranglethorn Vale, and it's accessible to both factions. You'll pick that up in Booty Bay, and you can get your Excelsior boots to get you going. The rings are a slot with so many different options that are all so close in performance. The two technically best ones are your level 38 Warsong Gulch Honored ring, that's Legionnaire's band for Horde or Protector's band for Alliance, and the Hypercharged Gear of Devastation. But there's so many alternatives so close in performance. Iron Spine's Eye, Marsh Ring of the Tiger with 7 agility, 7 strength, or we can get Ring of the Underwood, Mark of Kern, Assault Band, Falcon's Hook, or even just the level 28 Warsong Gulch ring you can wear alongside the level 38 version, and you're only 1.4 DPS behind the best in slot rings. That brings us to the trinkets. And we get a new DPS trinket with the Gyromatic Experiment 420B. It's got 18 passive attack power and an activated effect that increases your attack speed by a little bit. And I'm not sure what else happens when you push the experiment further, like it says, but the 18 attack power is enough to cement it as clearly one of the best 2 trinkets alongside your Avenger's Void Pearl. The Mechanical Dragonling for engineers and Domesticated Attack Chicken that can be used by anyone are 2 trinkets that can summon helper units that fight for you in combat. I would use these on fights that are around a minute long or less, so you can have the summoned unit active for the entire duration of the fight, dealing damage. I think in those circumstances, they'd definitely be better than either of the 18 attack power trinkets. For the ranged weapon slot, it's kind of like the rings where we have a whole bunch of different options that are super close in performance to each other. Falco's Sting with 8 agility is basically equivalent to the Silencer that has 14 attack power, which isn't that much better than High-Tech Super Gun, which has 12 attack power and 4 stamina. Nice option if you're tanking or doing PvP. And the Mithril Blunderbuss is a crafted item from engineers, usable by anyone though, that has 5 agility on it. So even if you didn't get your Baal Modan Blunderbuss from Black Fathom Deeps, you got an easy option this phase with the Mithril Blunderbuss. Now that we're done with all that, we get to the most exciting slot, the melee weapons. And the best weapon for rogues for dealing damage in raids Phase 2 Season of Discovery is, unfortunately, a BOE World Drop Epic, where the most viable way to obtain this item is to farm a lot of gold and try to buy it on the auction house. However, you won't catch me doing that. There's no way I'm spending the 1,000+ gold that these are going for on my server, when there are very close alternatives like the Toxic Revenger 2 from Nomergon or the Blood Harvest Blade from the Stranglethorn Vale PvP Blood Moon event that are not that far behind. If you haven't gotten any of those yet, the Scouts or Sentinel's Blade from Warsong Gulch Revered is great, but it shouldn't take you too long to get the Blood Harvest Blade from the Blood Moon event. That would be my first priority item to get on a fresh rogue looking to gear up. For the offhand weapon, we have Sacrificial Cris of Power +16. This can roll +14 as well, and it's pretty good if it's of the Tiger with 5 agility, 5 strength, or even if it's of agility with 8 or 7 agility. Even the worst of all of those is still just a little bit better than Blood Harvest Blade, which is your second best option. There's no particular place out in the world that you can go and farm these randomly enchanted items like Sacrificial Cris of Power. They just drop from any mob with like a 1 in 2 or 3,000 chance that is of the appropriate level. Your best bet is to farm gold and wait until an affordably priced dagger comes up on your server's auction house. But we have even more offhand weapon selections if none of those suit your fancy. The Black Menace dagger, which comes from the In the Name of the Light Scarlet Monastery quest, that's Alliance only. Good, solid option. Cold Rage dagger as well from Razorfen Downs. Hypnotic Blade from Scarlet Monastery. And we can't not mention the blood-spattered stiletto. And it's just not that good if your goal is dealing damage in Nomergon. With the end of the weapon section, we have a final thing to talk about: professions. And for professions, easily the best is leatherworking, giving you access to the glowing Nero-linked cowl, and as we talked about before, those void-touched leather gloves from Phase 1 are still pretty good. However, an important note is it does not appear that the attack speed benefit from the Nero-linked cowl and the void-touch leather gloves stacks, so you want to use these one after another and not at the same time. For your second profession, any enchanting, engineering, or alchemy will all provide a benefit. Enchanting gets access to the Enchanted Sigil, which gives you 20 attack power. Engineering will get you access to the hyperconductive gold wrap belt that we talked about, and it'll get you access to better explosives. The Goblin Landmine is about 450 damage per use, whereas the Easy Throw Dynamite that everyone else can use is about 250 damage per use on the same explosives cooldown. And the final perk of engineering is you get that Dragonling pet if you want to use that sometimes. For alchemy, you get access to the Irradiated Potion that gives you a quick boost of 40 attack power for 20 seconds, so you use that at the start of the fight, and the shorter you make fights in Nomergon, the more impactful this rejuvenation potion is. The DPS values calculated throughout this video have been based around about a 90-second encounter, which I think is a fair balance between some of the faster encounters in Nomergon and some of the much slower encounters like Mechaneer Thermoplug that takes multiple minutes. And that's all I have for you. That covers all the best gear, all the enchants, all the professions, and a lot of easy-to-get pre-raid options so you can get going on your rogue to deal a whole bunch of damage in Nomergon Phase 2 of Season of Discovery. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. And if you haven't seen it already, be sure to check out my Rogue PvE guide video for Nomergon. It goes over the talents, rotation, and consumables you can be using in Nomergon to deal as much damage as possible. I hope you're having as much fun in Season of Discovery as I am, and I hope you have a great day.